Hey everyone, welcome to today's case study. We're excited to have Scott here with us to share his journey through ECG and our brand direct blueprint. And for those who don't know, Scott's a 7-figure Amazon seller. He's been working with us for about 3 months, and he's already landed a ridiculous 33 brand direct accounts utilizing our strategies from ECG Wholesale. And before we dive in, I'll just introduce myself. My name's Dan Buford, founder of ECG Wholesale, and I've been able to build an 8-figure per year Amazon business over the last 6, actually I think it's 7 years now. And for today's interview, we're going to be dividing it into 3 parts of Scott's path since he started with us. And we're going to be overviewing 1, how he's able to set up his business. 2 is learning how to find suppliers. 3, actually landing those suppliers and scaling his business. So without further ado, we'll get into the questions. Thank you, Scott, for coming on here. Definitely appreciate you. Question number 1, for the back-end setup of your business, what were the basic steps you took to make sure that you're presenting your business professionally to suppliers you're contacting?
Yeah, the big thing off the bat was just getting a new domain set up because I didn't have a domain that was specifically for brand direct. So just getting that website set up, then getting my email set up. And I do think this is like a good little touch that Jack pointed out when I was getting set up, which is like having the professional email signature in there, just because having like owner and founder or whatever it may be with your email, your website, and your phone number, that just looks really nice at the bottom of an email. And I've noticed that most of the brands I contact, when they respond, the person always has that at the bottom. And so I think that's seen as like a unwritten professional courtesy. And so getting that set up, that's been a nice little touch. And then I do think proper cold call scripts and proper email outreach templates, that's not like the back end setup, but that is the basics of communicating, is not just messaging people and being like, let me buy stuff, actually communicating in a way that you would LinkedIn speak, as I like to call it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, wholesale is so much different than arbitrage. It's a business to business like relationship with all of the vendors. It's very important that you present yourself as a business as well. So yeah, it makes
100%.
perfect sense. And for website creation, branding, did you have any specific ideas you wanted to convey to brands that you work with? What type of things are on your website? What type of things do you say when you're reaching out to a supplier?
Yeah, I would say my website's not like the coolest. I was looking for a somewhat bare minimum just to get started because that's just who I am. Like when I have something new, I'm just eager to get started.
For sure.
And so I do think down the line, I'll update my website with the brands that I'm currently working with, just because I haven't done that yet because I haven't updated since I started. I think the big things that were clear to me, even initially, that would be important would be logistics. Obviously, brands don't want people ending up with crushed items or whatever it may be, anything that puts a bad stain on their brand. So making it very clear that I have the systems to handle the logistics in a timely manner. And then also, I would say MAP pricing. So that's minimum advertised price for anyone who doesn't know and is watching. That's something brands care a lot about. Basically, if you're a brand, all the stores you sell to sell for, you don't want an Amazon seller selling it for $12 because then no one's going to buy from the stores. They're just going to buy from Amazon. And then everyone starts complaining. And so making it clear to brands that I knew what that was and I was going to follow it was very important.
Absolutely. It's top of mind for so many brands because brands don't just sell on Amazon. They sell in brick and mortar retail stores. They sell to mom and pop stores. And when the price on Amazon is lower than what people can buy in brick and mortars, obviously those brick and mortars are then going to complain to the brand, hey, it's cheaper on Amazon. I'm not getting any sales. People look at my product and go on Amazon and buy it for cheaper. And brands hate to hear that. So that's a lot of why brands are frustrated with Amazon sellers. They don't follow the rules. And then that's when they end up saying, no more Amazon sellers, please. These guys suck. Trying to differentiate yourself, as you did, is a great way to get a foothold with the brand. Nice job there. And then the other thing you said I really liked as well was that you just got a basic website landing page set up and just hit the ground running. I like the quote, done is better than perfect. And it's more important to just start and get something done, even though it's not 100% perfect, and then refine it, then try to overanalyze and get every single detail perfect before you even start. Because chances are, you're going to have to adapt and change your approach anyway. So just get something done and then hit the ground running, which you did, and it worked out for you.
Totally.
Yeah. Let's see. Next question. How did you go about finding suppliers to contact that you think had it actually, like that you had a good chance of actually opening an account with?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely started with no knowledge. And so I didn't have any brands that I'd closed or whatever that I could reverse source. So I did this classic like Smart Scout initially, and then recently I used Keep Up Product Finder as well, just looking through both of those.
Yeah.
And then once I closed a few of them, I realized that brands I reverse sourced, like all the suppliers on it or all the sellers on it, it was just like way more likely I was going to find more brands I could close.
For sure.
And so I did the Smart Scout volume thing at first, but I would say that like a lot of those weren't as profitable just because they're obvious. If I can find it as someone who doesn't know anything, then a lot of people can find it.
Sure.
I've moved more towards reverse sourcing now. And yeah, that's basically what I've started moving towards. We can go into this later, but my VA does all the outreach now as of a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's why we teach 3, 4, 5 different methods for suppliers. Smart Scout is a great way to do it, but it definitely doesn't uncover all the opportunities. And I like the little like unknown, like nitty gritty brands that like people haven't really heard of, but are doing decent volume. And those are, in my experience, easier to find outside of Smart Scout, where you're just finding like other like-minded sellers that seem to be selling similar brands that you want to sell and then contacting from there. Glad you found success with that as well. Let's see. So you mentioned your outreach a little bit, the flow, like outsourcing it to a VA. What does it look like specifically? Is it like a VA sending X number of emails per day? Are you doing all the phone calls? How are you following up with suppliers? Take us through a little bit of that.
Yeah, so I think I do have a somewhat unconventional approach, or maybe it is conventional. I just think it's easier. I really don't call anyone unless, like, I had a phone call the other day because I was going to place a $10,000 purchase order with a supplement brand, and they just wanted to make sure the guy, it's a family owned business. The guy just wanted to talk to me and be like, you're not like a scammer. Like, he just wanted to talk.
Sure.
And so we had a great conversation, and it actually ended up leading to him bumping everything down 5% without me even like saying anything.
Wow.
I didn't say anything. He just was like, yeah, I'm going to discount this down to this. And I was like, sweet. And I think that actually will end up being an exclusive long term, just because it seems like he doesn't really get to talk with many of the Amazon sellers that are on it. And he seemed happy to talk with me. But that's like basically the only time I make phone calls is if it's at the very end. The whole flow right now, I asked my VA to try to reach out to 30 brands a day. That's the goal, at least for the next 20 days, because I was doing 60 days of outreach. And then if the brand doesn't respond, 3 business days later, he sends another follow-up email. And then I have him send 2 follow-up emails. And then the plan is after the next 20 days, after we slow the outreach down, I'll go back through and all the ones that haven't responded, I'll cold call them. Obviously much easier to get in contact with people by doing that. But I will say that's probably why my volume of actual responses and acceptances is probably lower than it should be. I think it's 32 or 33, as Jack was saying. And I've probably contacted 600 brands at this point, or 550. But I would say like half of them never even responded to me, or they'll just send me like a traditional denial email. And obviously those don't always mean no. It just might mean we need to see more effort from you before we're just going to go ahead and send you a price list and agreement.
Exactly. Yeah. And honestly, 5% isn't even that bad. So you like a 5% account opening rate is, I'd say, quite good for just email outreach from a VA. So whatever is in the content of your emails, I think is probably pretty compelling to brands.
Shout out to Golf for that. The guy from ECG. He gave me his template like early on, and then Jack helped me refine it a little bit to make it shorter just because it was super long.
Sure.
But it's a pretty long email. I think that's what a lot of people get wrong with their cold emails. They think about it like they're making like YouTube shorts or something, that it needs to be like super grabby and like quick. And for me, I tested out an email template that was basically like, I did 1.2 million in sales. I want to buy your stuff. Email me back. A little more complicated than that. And that did not get a very good hit rate, but this one has a much better hit rate. Mostly because I think, and hopefully this is a little bit of a nice little nugget for someone, but I think mentioning the fact that you can do PPC advertising for brands is huge. If a brand doesn't sell on Amazon themselves, they have no idea how to do that.
Yeah, brands love to hear advertising, especially on your dime. That's
say in the email, like, I'll reinvest 10% of our profits into advertising.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what closed that supplement brand that I was just talking about.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's great to hear that you actually refined your email template through another member of the community. And that's what community is about. It's not just about
100%.
a guru like telling you do exactly this or else. It's about everyone sharing best practices with each other, and Amazon's constantly evolving. So having a group of strong sellers in there to bounce ideas off is really important for everyone. Has there been any like mindset shifts, business-wise or otherwise, since starting the program on how you approach business or anything? If so, how are you thinking about things now?
So I'd say like one of the things you talked about on the first call, you probably don't even remember saying this because it was an offhanded remark, but we were talking about brand direct. And I was asking you whether or not brand direct was your priority or if you're going to work with distributors and you're like, obviously, like you can sell. If you look at Pattern, they're doing like I think over $1 billion a year. They're all brand direct. It's all like they're working directly with brands. It seems maybe there's some distributors, but from all the stuff I've seen, it's like just
Yeah, I
them
think
on
it's
ends.
100% brand direct.
Yeah. And you're like, if you want to sell something a good multiple, have a bunch of exclusive relationships with brands or semi-exclusive, and then someone will buy a book of business. I just had never thought about anything on Amazon having any sort of sellability other than private label, which I'm building myself right now. That's a completely different conversation, but I'd never thought about that. And honestly, I think if I'd found that out 10 months ago, not that I regret building the private label I'm doing right now, I think I would have just stuck with wholesale just because I've been so intrigued, and you hear everyone talk about it, like the exit is where you make all your money. And so that was a complete mindset shift for me, going from, yeah, it's good, it'll be good to have replenishable leads, to if I have 5 suppliers that I make $10,000, 5 brands I make 10K each off of every month, like someone could buy that for $500,000 or $1 million, depending on the growth of those brands and how exclusive they are. And so that was a complete mindset shift for me. I really just never thought about that. And it made me like super, super excited to get into brand direct, because I know stuff like the brand I just closed. If I can help them grow to making me $20,000 in profit a month, that could be worth like $100,000 to the right person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's spot on. It's what I'm trying to do with my own business as well. Eventually exit, not anytime soon. And I think the industry is still like evolving in terms of who would buy wholesale businesses. But just as there are companies swallowing up 1 million private label brands, I do believe the same thing may happen, some sort of consolidation, whether it's mega sellers like buying out your accounts or exclusives, or maybe some new private equity entity just buying, like creating their own mega wholesale seller. I think there will be a lot more interest in the future, and I'm sure there is some right now. It's just in its infancy, but those relationships do have a ton of sellable value down the road. I'm glad that opened your eyes to some possibilities and maybe selling down the road for a pile of cash. So
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely the goal, is to spend the next 3 to 5 years building this, and then probably when I'm 28, 29, because I'm only 23 right now, exit whatever I've built.
Nice. So retirement before 30.
No. We'll figure it out. I'll figure out something else to do.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. No matter how much money I end up getting, I'll always want to work. I like work. I like keeping myself busy.
Me too.
I like being productive. The whole concept of retirement, I think, is outdated.
Especially early retirement.
Yeah, exactly. It's like just,
what are you going to do
from life? Exactly. Yeah, totally agree. Let's see. What would you say to someone who's on the fence about taking the next step into Amazon wholesale? Do you have any advice for someone in your position, like before joining? Yeah.
So I would say, obviously, assuming this is like talking about joining E2G, it is a significant investment, even if you are already a 7-figure seller. I would say consider 2 things. One, are you willing to put in consistent work daily? It's not a lot of work, but initially, if you reach out to 30 brands, that may take you 2 hours to find the brands, find their emails, and reach out to them. I definitely recommend like a standard outreach template off the bat, just to speed that up. But can you do consistent work? And then do you have a significant amount of capital? Just because, I mean, we were literally talking about this on the call last night. Like, it's really tough to negotiate terms right off the bat. And so you're probably going to be out 10, 20, 30, maybe even $50,000 initially when you're buying from these brands. And so have a significant amount of capital, or if you're an arbitrage, be willing to, what I'm doing right now is just like being willing to spread my spending. And especially given recent problems with arbitrage, that's just getting easier. But be willing to spread your spending out a little more. If you're already spending everything you have on arbitrage leads, I would question whether or not you can just get a higher ROI on wholesale purchases. In fact, I can almost guarantee you can. But if you're already doing that, then it doesn't make sense to take on a new project. So just be willing to change your mindset and put in consistent work.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Our program is for people who will put in the work. We have enough students, a big enough sample size at this point to see who succeeds, who's struggling, and the people who are succeeding are putting in the reps, and they're not giving up after a couple of rejections. And so, yeah, I agree with that advice. And capital wise as well, it's like some programs will sell you on $500 in a dream and you're going to be a millionaire in 3 months. This is not that program. This is how to build a real wholesale business the right way, which takes time and takes effort. Regarding the program, what aspects do you find are the most valuable for you? Was it like one-on-one support, group coaching calls, other members, or brand direct resources? What do you think stands out for you?
I would say the most valuable things are probably the Monday 5 p.m. calls on sourcing or whatever the topic of the week is. just because every time on those calls, I think of something new or realize something new. Like yesterday, the talk about terms, that was a big thing. I just haven't put enough thought into that, but seeing you do the numbers out and show how substantial of a difference it is in ROI, that's something I'm now going to think about since I've gone through my first round of making purchase orders and some of my stuff is starting to arrive at Amazon. The next time with these companies, like working on negotiating terms or getting live terms for at least some of a purchase order. And so I'd say the calls probably are the most valuable to me. I would say I'm more of an experienced Amazon seller. So like the stuff with dealing with removal orders, dealing with repricing, dealing with whatever, like I know most of that. And so it's like learning the sort of in action stuff. And then I would say being able to just ask you or Jack stuff and get a response like pretty much within an hour. Jack's really good about that as long as it's like not 2 a.m. But hey, you never know. Maybe he's up.
Jack's a beast. He's like super responsive at all times.
Yeah, I would say that. And then the group has been great of like just posting stuff and people are happy to help each other out, whether it's like helping someone with a section 3 or something that's going on.
Yeah, I love to see members helping members for sure. And yeah, awesome. Last question, similar to what we talked about, but if someone's watching this, considering working with us, what would you say to help them decide if it's the right move for them?
Are you lazy? And likely you're not lazy if you're trying to get the business. I would say that. And do you have the capital or can you get the capital through 0% APR or something like that, 0% APR cards or something like that to expand your business? But I've seen the whole world of arbitrage. I know people who are doing $10 to $12 million in arbitrage. And I definitely believe that like wholesale is the way. There's no, you can't really argue with it because it's just the whole problem with arbitrage is it's easier to get started, but it's a lot easier to get wiped out. And personally, I don't want to have to make the same money twice. So wholesale's a good way to avoid having that happen.
Yeah, awesome. And where can people find you on social media? I know you're documenting a lot of your journey with contacting 1,000 accounts, which is awesome.
Yeah. On Twitter, I think it's just here. I'll just look. I think it's just Scott Holmes. Cool. And yeah, my name is Scott Holmes. And then I post on Instagram and TikTok under the same thing. Just I think it's Scott H Business or Scott Holmes.
Scott H Business.
But yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
I talk more on TikTok and Instagram. It's less like Amazon specific, more just business specific thoughts I have, conversations I have, whatever. Whenever people annoy me.
Awesome. Yeah, for everyone watching, thank you for watching and hearing Scott's story. Yeah, Scott definitely fires me up when I heard about how many accounts he opened in that period of time. That's more than I've ever opened. So yeah, Scott is a rising star. He'll probably eclipse me in sales, given a few more years, but we'll see. And if you like this story and it resonates with you and seems like the vibe is right and it's the right community for you, check out our link below and you can learn more information about it. And yeah, we'll hope to see you in there.